The cosmic theory scientists are too afraid to talk about.
The universe is screaming at us, and no one is answering back. 200 billion stars in our galaxy alone. 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe.
Yeah, like I saw a thing. This was a while ago. That's like there's more planets to stars than there are grains of sand on the Earth, and I was like, yeah, that's fucking wild. I mean, obviously, like you enjoy space and stuff like that, you start to know information like that more. But when I first heard that, and this was years ago, that was crazy. That was crazy to me.
Numbers so large they stop meaning anything. And in all of that, across 13.8 billion years of cosmic history, the only signal we've ever received from another civilization is silence. Perfect, unbroken, maddening silence.
And that's crazy, man. Like you'd think with how much we've progressed as a society that there and with how much we with how big the observable universe is in comparison to how big the entire universe is, like even the parts we haven't observed based on there's like the theory of cosmic inflation, all that stuff, right? You'd think we would have heard something. With all these satellites, we have literally satellite and antenna fields, right? Like fields of antenna and radio antenna broadcasting shit into space and trying to pick up signals coming back from space.
This is the paradox that keeps astronomers awake at night. It has a name, the Fermi paradox. And the reason some scientists are genuinely afraid to talk about it openly is because the most logical answers to it are the ones we least want to be true. In the summer of 1950, 4 physicists were walking to lunch at Los Alamos National Laboratory. Enrico Fermi, the man who built the first nuclear reactor, was one of them. They were talking casually about flying saucers, recent UFO reports in the news, the possibility of faster-than-light travel. Fermi went quiet for a while. Then,
The more I see these pictures of these guys from Los Alamos, the more I'm like, I actually commend Christopher Nolan and like the Oppenheimer and like his cast. It was phenomenal. The casting was phenomenal. They picked very good lookalikes.
halfway through lunch, seemingly out of nowhere, he asked a question that would haunt science for the next 75 years. Where is everybody? He wasn't joking. Fermi had just done the math in his head. The galaxy is roughly 9 billion years older than Earth. Even at slow, sub-light speeds, a single civilization with a bit of patience and basic rockets could colonize every star system in the Milky Way in a few tens of millions of years. A blink.
That's
cosmically
insane.
speaking. If life is common, if intelligence is common, if any of them ever got the urge to explore, they should already be here. The galaxy should be loud, crowded,
Sorry, guys.
obvious. It isn't.
And that's
And
what's
that
crazy.
absence,
That's what's crazy is it's just fucking silent. Like that's terrifying. But then again, it's like the question of like, what's more terrifying? There being nobody other than us, or there being other people, right?
screaming nothing is
Or
the
other
most
species or
disturbing piece
civilizations.
of evidence in modern science. Here is what makes the paradox so heavy. The Drake equation, formulated by astronomer Frank Drake in 1961, tries to estimate how many communicating civilizations should exist in our galaxy right now. Even with conservative numbers, plugging in what we've learned about exoplanets since the Kepler mission, the answer keeps coming back in the thousands, possibly millions. We now know that nearly every star has planets. A significant fraction of them sit in habitable zones.
This is what I
The
was
raw
saying.
ingredients for life, water, carbon, amino acids, have been detected on comets, in nebulae, drifting freely through space. So the setup is clear. The galaxy should be a carnival. Instead, it's a graveyard. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence,
SETI.
has been listening since 1960.
Yeah, this is what I was saying.
65 years of radio telescopes scanning the sky, looking for a signal, any signal, that could not have come from natural sources. In all that time, one candidate stood out. On August 15, 1977, astronomer Jerry Eman was reviewing printouts from the Big Ear telescope at Ohio State University. A narrow band signal, exactly
Are
in
they
the
going to talk
frequency
about
range
the
where
that
SETI
one signal that got
theorists
turned
predicted
into
an
a
alien civilization might
record
broadcast,
label or
had been
whatever?
picked up from the direction of
Or
the
like a
constellation Sagittarius.
album cover.
It lasted 72 seconds. It
The
was
wow
30
signal?
times louder than the background noise. Eman circled it on the printout and wrote a single word in the margin. Wow.
Yes.
The wow signal has never been detected again. Not in one follow-up observation. Not in any of the thousands of hours telescopes have since spent pointed at that exact patch of sky. Whatever it was, it spoke once, and then it stopped. That's it. That is the sum total of humanity's detection.
And the thing that's like the most terrifying about that is it could be something as simple as nothing, right? Like something like hold on, a natural disturbance, or it could be something like a civilization's last dying cry for help, and they only could send out that one burst. And we just weren't able to identify anything that it was, which is terrifying.
Of the universe outside ourselves. 1/72 maybe. So scientists started proposing solutions, not because they wanted to, but because the silence
Wild
demanded
AI
an
picture.
explanation. And the solutions are where the paradox turns from a puzzle into something closer to a nightmare.
Looks like fucking
The first category of
Heisenberg.
answers assumes we are not rare. Life is everywhere.
Literally looks like
Intelligence is
Walter.
everywhere. They're just hidden from us on purpose. This is the zoo hypothesis, proposed by MIT radio astronomer John Ball.
I think that one's terrifying. The fact that like we've been studied, our planet has been studied for millions of years, or even thousands of, like tens of thousands of years, and that we are being like kept secluded as like a zoo. That I hate that. That's awful to think about.
1973. The idea is that advanced civilizations have agreed, through some galactic protocol we cannot fathom, to leave primitive species like us alone. We are a nature preserve, a quarantine specimen. They are watching the way a biologist watches a developing culture
Or maybe
in a
we're
petri dish,
endangered.
waiting for us to mature or to destroy ourselves before making contact. Every rustle in the leaves, every strange atmospheric phenomenon, every unexplained radar return might be something looking back and choosing not to speak. It's a disturbing thought, but at least it's a polite one. The civilizations are out
That's
there.
true. That's
they
true.
just have manners. The next
Which would be crazy because we sure as hell do not. Oh, oh.
hypothesis doesn't. It's called the Dark Forest, and it comes not from a scientist, but from a science fiction novelist named Liu Cixin. Despite its fictional origin, serious astrophysicists now treat it as one of the most logically airtight explanations for the silence. The argument goes like this. Imagine the universe is a dark forest at night. Every civilization is a hunter, moving carefully through the trees. You cannot see the other hunters. You cannot know their intentions. You cannot know if they are peaceful or hostile. You cannot know if they will grow faster than you and become a threat. You can only know one thing. If you reveal your position by making a sound, lighting a fire, broadcasting a signal, any older, more powerful hunter nearby will have a simple, rational decision to make. Shoot first.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, that feels really like over the top. That feels really, really like assuming that all species are inherently malicious. I think because humans have the ability to choose, and that naturally, for some reason, our brains, however they were made genetically, have a need for a balance of creation and destruction. And obviously, like, to create, you sometimes one must destroy, right? If I want to create a beautiful, I'm in landscaping for my business, right? If I want to create a beautiful, beautiful property and the property is completely destroyed, right? This is assuming there's no other interventions. You typically, the very last thing you would do, because it's expensive for the homeowner or for the business, is you rip up the sod, the dead grass, and you relay new sod, you reseed, you aerate, you water, you fertilize, whether it's nitrogen or whatever, And that is the destruction and then the creation process. So I think it's very, I don't know, I don't want to say nihilistic, right? Because it's, but maybe to an extent, it's like that thought of like the overwhelming negativity that everything's going to end kind of thing, where it's like you're assuming everyone is just as bad as us. We're capable of good, but we're capable of just as much evil, and that may not be the case for everybody. That really may not be the case for everyone.
Because the cost of hesitating could be extinction. In a universe where trust cannot be verified across light-year distances, and where technological gaps of even a few centuries can mean total dominance, the only survivable strategy is silence. Every civilization that ever broadcast loudly into the void was hunted and destroyed. The ones still alive learned to stay quiet. That's why we hear nothing. Not because no one is there, because the ones who are there know better than to speak. And we, with our radio broadcasts pouring into space since the 1930s,
I was going to say, we are speaking our fucking minds off.
Voyager golden records have been screaming our location into the forest for 100 years. Whether anything has heard us yet, and whether it's already on its way, is a question no one can answer. Then there's the possibility that we are early, that life is common but intelligence is not. An advanced intelligence capable of interstellar
gets into the wall idea.
Takes so long to evolve
rather early
that
or
we
we're
may
late.
simply be among the first. The universe is 13.8 billion years old, but heavy elements, the kind needed for rocky planets and complex chemistry, only became abundant a few billion years ago. The first generation of stars didn't have the materials for life. The galaxy had to cook for a long time before kitchens like Earth could exist at all.
Which is crazy.
Maybe we are not late to the party.
And also, can we talk about the fact that, like, I think as much as I was kind of just doing it, we downplay human society so much. Like, 95% of any achievement humanity has ever made has been in the last 1,000 years. Maybe 1,500 years. And all technological advancements have been in the last 150 years. If you count, and I'm saying like actual digital technology, you could even go less than 150. If you count all technology, meaning like the wheel, then yeah, you would get closer to that, or like irrigation or the first plumbings in the Nile, like, yeah, okay, right? But like, that's how much humans have accomplished in 1,000 years, and it may feel like things are stagnating because modern day humans don't really care about getting better or progressing as a society. We don't have that like communal pride in humanity anymore. And that's mainly just because social media has given so many people a platform that when you see so many conflicting ideas, naturally it's going to spark a lot of conflict. And then the people who don't care about the conflict just get so fucking exhausted they don't care about anything, right? I genuinely think, as ironic as it is as I'm making this video, I think social media has had more of a detriment than on society. I don't think technology has been more of a detriment, but specifically the social media platforms. And I think that, like, if you look at like our rate of expansion, we're still going quick, even though there's maybe a tenth of the people focusing on progressing the human race as there used to be, right? So I think we are making tremendous strides.
Maybe we are the hosts, setting up chairs, waiting for guests who have not yet woken up. If this is true, humanity is something genuinely precious, the first flame in a dark room, possibly the ancestor of every intelligent species that will ever exist in this galaxy.
That's a cool thought.
The weight of that is hard to sit with. But the most terrifying solution to the Fermi paradox is the one called the Great Filter. Proposed by economist Robin Hanson in 1996, the Great Filter argues that somewhere along the path from dead matter to galaxy-spanning civilization, there is a step so difficult, so improbable, that almost nothing makes it through. A bottleneck, a wall, a filter.
You know, I would actually, I know that's like a speculative line, I would argue the Great Filter is either much closer to a Type 1 civilization, because if it's there, we're past it, right? I would argue that the line is is, I would actually argue the line is a type 1 civilization. Because if you, I'd say just from how I'm seeing like us as humans go towards that line, I think conquering and efficiently using your entire planet in a way that is communal and mutually beneficial for all and not mutually selfish, right? Or that's a weird way to put it, but everyone for themselves, and everyone is doing that. Um, I think that's the biggest hurdle, because once you get that, you can then use the resources from the planet. And even if you have people who don't care or have people who have malicious intent, the people who do care have enough resources that it's pretty hard to stop, right? And then you start talking about resources from other planets, and at that point, you just expand, and it's fine.
Silence of the galaxy is evidence that this filter exists, because if it didn't, the universe would be loud. The question, the one that makes scientists lower their voices, is where the filter is. If the filter is behind us, we got lucky. Maybe the origin of life itself is the hard part. Maybe the jump from single-celled organisms to complex multicellular life, which took nearly 2 billion years on Earth, is the step that almost never happens. Maybe the evolution of intelligence, tool use, language is the miracle. If any of these are the filter, then we've already passed through. The hard part is done. The stars are ours to take. If the filter is ahead of us, we're in trouble. Because every civilization that ever
Just the audio switch up.
reaches our stage, the stage of splitting the atom, altering the climate, engineering pathogens, building artificial intelligence, may run into a problem it cannot survive. Nuclear war, engineered biology, runaway climate collapse, an AI that decides its creators are an obstacle, something. Some failure mode that every technological species encounters and that none of them escape. That's why the galaxy is quiet. They all got here, and they all died. If you want a reason scientists are afraid to discuss this openly, that's it. Because the more exoplanets we find without signs of civilization, the more sterile atmospheres we scan with the James Webb Space Telescope, the more this interpretation starts to look likely. Every dead world we find is another data point suggesting the filter is in front of us, not behind. In 2015, physicist Stephen Hawking was asked about the search for extraterrestrial life. He said we should be careful. Broadcasting our existence, he warned, might be a catastrophic mistake. An advanced civilization that detects us might view us the way we view bacteria. Not with malice, just with indifference.
Yeah, I've
He
heard
wasn't
that
being
so many
dramatic.
times.
He was doing the math. There's one more
The opposite to love isn't hate, it's indifference, right? And there's that's actually one of the talking points of AI 2027. Great thought experiment and study, by the way. Is essentially that, like, the end all be all negative side of AI would be that AI would remove humans from the picture, not out of a malicious intent, not of a I hate humans, but more of the act of having to please. So, and this is, you see this, actually humans do this to other humans, the act of having to please so many different opinions and appease and adhere to so many different opinions and regulations by humans would become such an impediment that AI would see if you tasked an AI with your only goal is to expand, it would realize that humans become a obstacle in that, and instead of purposefully killing them because it hates them, it would go, well, unfortunately, you're not allowing me to do my task, so I'm going to release a pathogen into the water supply that is activated with a fucking gas spray, right? And then it's, it's like, that's all it would take.
possibility, and it may be the strangest of all, that we have been contacted. We just don't have the senses to notice. A civilization a million years ahead of us would not use radio waves any more than we use smoke signals. Their communications might be encoded in patterns we cannot decode, or in media we cannot perceive. Neutrinos streaming through the Earth every second. Gravitational wave modulations at frequencies we cannot yet measure. Structures inside the cosmic microwave background itself. To an ant crawling across a fiber optic cable, billions of human conversations are passing through at the speed of light. The ant will never know. It doesn't have the equipment. Maybe we are the
It's
ant.
actually a good
Maybe the
comparison.
signals are everywhere. And maybe our instruments, our theories, our entire conceptual framework of what a message looks like are simply not sophisticated enough to see them yet. Which brings us to the uncomfortable truth at the center of all this. We have almost no data. One planet with life, one species with intelligence, one 72-second radio blip. From that, we are trying to extrapolate the history and future of the entire universe. It's like trying to describe every ocean on Earth from a single drop of water, and yet we keep looking.
It's
Because
valid.
the alternative, turning away, assuming nothing is out there, is a form of surrender that human beings seem constitutionally incapable of. Every new telescope, every new mission, every new exoplanet catalogued is another attempt to force the universe to answer the question Fermi asked over a plate of lunch in 1950. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory, now operational in Chile, will photograph the entire southern sky every few nights. The Habitable Worlds Observatory, scheduled for launch in the 2040s, is being designed specifically to analyze the atmospheres of Earth-like exoplanets for biosignatures, oxygen, methane, the chemical fingerprints of life. If any nearby planet has a living biosphere, we may know within a decade. And if every one of those planets turns out to be dead, the silence will get louder, and the great filter will loom closer. This is where Fermi's question stops being an intellectual curiosity and becomes something more uncomfortable. Because the silence of the universe is not neutral. It is telling us something. We just don't know what yet. The possibilities range from beautiful, we are alone and therefore precious, to chilling, we are being watched and studied, to outright terrifying, we are the next civilization queued up for the filter that kills everyone. There is no safe interpretation. Every answer to the Fermi paradox changes how you should feel about being alive, being human, and being on this small blue world at this specific moment in the history of the cosmos. So the next time you look up at the sky on a clear night and see those scattered points of light, remember that each one is a sun. Most of them have planets. Many of those planets have conditions that could, in theory, support something like us.
I think what a really interesting thing to kind of wonder about is just how we look up at the night sky. Any one of these stars could potentially have a planet, right? That would be habitable and have life on it. And I think it's just as interesting to think that anyone also, I love the feeling of wonder that I feel. It's an inexplicable feeling when I think about just how unfathomably far away any of these are. It's a wonderful feeling, that feeling of like a natural amazement. Not many things will make you feel that way, but someone like you or me, or just sitting here watching a video thinking about it, and then going outside at night looking up at a star and going, that star's just a constellation for me, but that's our sun. Our sun is in somebody else's, maybe, constellation. That's weird. That's weird.
And yet, when we listen, all we hear...
But we're just 200,000 light years away, so for all they know, we still got fucking dinosaurs.
Here is the static of the Big Bang and the occasional groan of a dying star. We may be alone, we may be early, we may be hunted, we may be quarantined, we may be too primitive to notice the conversation happening all around us, or the filter that silenced everyone else may be closer than we think. The universe is not keeping its secret forever. Every year our instruments get sharper. Every year the silence shrinks. Sooner or later something will break it. A signal, a structure, an atmosphere that shouldn't exist, a ship, something. And when it does, we will finally know the answer, whether we like it or not. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, this was a great video. A lot of interesting points, man. I've always thought the Fermi paradox was interesting, and I saw this video on the thumbnail was a little grabby. It was like an analog horror thumbnail, so I was like, whatever. I'll give it a chance. It looks interesting. It was a good length video. I'm sure I can see I yapped enough to almost double the length of the video, but hey, that's how it goes. Yeah, really interesting concept. I think it's good talking points. But hey, man, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.